All right, at 6:05, we just came out of executive session to continue on with our regular monthly agenda. The first item on the agenda, approval of minutes for the meeting of 12/10/2020. Do I have a motion to accept? You can get it on the table and talk about it if you need to change anything.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bickle,
Second.
second by Mr. Kelleher. Did you see anything in the minutes that you think you need to correct or change?
No, look good to me. Look good.
None?
Nothing noted.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes as printed?
Aye.
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 It's a 3-0 vote. Correspondence. Yeah, we don't have any correspondence. You got a superintendent's report.
Yep, you gonna put that in front of you? What's up? Yep, great. Phase 7 contracts 1 and 2, we actually getting pretty close to the end of this contract other than our recent change order, but as mentioned during our last meeting, the change order to contract 1 for the additional wet well at the Church Street pumping station has been issued. Time Bond is currently reviewing submittals provided by the contractor for the project. We are awaiting delivery schedule from the contractor. I received and reviewed the draft record plans for contract 1 and 2 from Time Bond. All look good. I had asked Time Bond to make just one change related to the ties to the services on Brook Street, which they did. Time Bond has provided the certificate of final payment and completion of work for CJP on contract 2. Taunton River easement stabilization, we attended the Conservation Commission meeting on Wednesday, December 16th for this project. The project received a successful vote from Conservation and we are awaiting order of conditions. Next step will be to submit to Army Corps of Engineers and then work to bidding the project. Taunton Capital Improvement Bill, if you remember during my last month's meeting, I reported that the interim town accountant was suggesting that we could reserve the funds from our expected bill to Taunton from our FY20 books, since the books hadn't been closed. In further discussing this with Chris Laviolette, the interim town accountant, he realized that this bill will be part of FY21, so he has now suggested that we put this on a warrant for our article of town meeting. Biannual billing, Brenda and I have started the biannual billing for a period of July 1st to December 31st, 2020. Initial results so far indicates that our commercial billing is still down and maybe even down more than the last cycle. So that's so far is some good news. Finance and budget, I haven't received the date yet, but we will be meeting with the Finance Committee soon to discuss FY22 budget. They have requested that departments prepare for a 0% increase for expenditures and only allow for contractual increases per the union contracts. Pump station wet well maintenance, we were having issues at the Market Basket pump station recently with an intermittent high water alarm coming in and creating nuisance alarms requiring personnel callbacks. It was determined that the grease was building up in the wet well and was triggering the high water flow. The remedy was to have sewer sanitation come in with the vacuum truck and pump out the wet well. While we had the vacuum truck in town, we had him also clean out 5 additional wells. The grease actually, for the most part, usually is a problem at subdivisions where they have trash compactors, or garbage disposal, I should say. And they throw everything down there and the grease builds up severely in them particular wet wells in neighborhoods. But the one at Market Basket, I mean, that has a neighborhood that also runs into it, so we assume it was probably the same situation. I had the guys go and check the grease trap over at Market Basket, because they are also tied in, and they said the grease trap was clean. So we asked them for records. I believe they did give me some records on that, so it did show that it was recently cleaned. So as long as they're keeping up with their part of it. So next on my report, I have the annual report, which I'll be submitting to the selectmen. And I'll read that off here. To the Honorable Board of Selectmen, this is dated December 30th, 2020. The Raynham sewer system has approximately 114 miles of sewer, approximately 80 miles of which was publicly funded and approximately 34 miles of which was installed through private land development. The Sewer Commission has 35 pumping stations in which it also operates and maintains. The sewer department staff is required to do daily operational inspections and maintenance to each one of these pumping stations. The percentage of homes in Raynham with sewer service available now is 98%. We currently have 4,530 domestic units and 368 commercial units connected to the sewer system. During 2020, the sewer department continued with the expansion and completion of sewer service to various areas in town. The most recent Phase 7 sewer expansion included the following accomplishments. Phase 7 Contract 1, installation of sewer main has been completed, and with the completion and acceptance of the new pumping station at Park Place, the residents from Park Place and Gatsby Drive areas have now been invited to tie in. Roadway resurfacing for most roads in the Phase 7 Contract 1 project have also been completed. Our thanks to the Highway Department for handling this particular task. A change order was issued to this contract to include an additional wet well for added volume and to reduce pump cycling at the Church Street pumping station. This is being done to accommodate the additional flows from the Park Place and Gatsby Drive areas. Phase 7 Contract 2 included Cedar Mill Drive, Rose Terrace, Juniper Hill, Mill Street, Brook Street, Fair Lane, and the addition of Courtney Way. Contract 2 has been completed and residents have been invited to tie in. Roadways resurfacing for most of the roads in this project have also been completed as well. Cameron pumping station upgrade, which started in 2018, was completed in 2020. This pumping station project included the decommissioning of a below-grade pumping station with an addition to the building to house new above-grade high-capacity suction lift pumps, as well as a new updated control panel and transfer switch. The asphalt entranceway, as well as a chain link security fence, was also replaced around the building. The pre-existing generator, which had become unreliable, was replaced in 2020 with a new larger generator size to handle the additional loads of the larger pumps and for the expected additional flows to be received from the Phase 6 and Phase 7 projects. Modifications were made to the pre-existing building to accommodate larger ventilation louvers for this new generator. The Katy Drive to King Street sewer easement project was bid out and got started during the summer of 2020. This project was for the purpose of improving access for our crew to maintain the sewer main and manholes throughout this cross-country sewer easement. This particular easement runs basically from Orchard Street through the woods to King Street. While the project saw significant delays related to product availability due to the COVID crisis, this project was completed aside from minor punch list items that will be addressed in the spring of 2021. Sewer department, as part of a biannual maintenance program, cut approximately 5 miles of cross-country sewer easements through the town. This work is performed a minimum of twice a year. The sewer department continued with an I&I removal, which included repairs to additional manholes throughout our sewer easements, as well as replacement of broken manhole frames and covers throughout the streets in town. The sewer easement repair along the Taunton River near Route 44 was in the design and permitting phase during 2020. Bidding and award of this project is expected to be early in 2021. The sewer department office received new updated computers during the latter part of 2020. The board and office staff would like to thank the outgoing IT consultant, Tim Graybars, for his many years of fabulous service to the sewer department. Respectfully submitted, Joseph A. Bettencourt, Chairman, Joseph M. Bickle, Jeff Kelleher, Robert A. Carey, Superintendent. And with your approval, I'll be giving this to the town clerk for the annual report.
It's good.
I think it's an excellent summary to a very busy year, actually, and job well done.
Thank you.
With one typo.
One typo, you see one? What is that?
You need the first noted paragraph you have, you need a tie, you need an in after this tie. That was it.
Gatsby Drive areas have now been invited to tie.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Glad you saw that. Did I say when I read it to tie in?
You said it.
Yes, I do.
Spell check doesn't work.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
No, not missing.
No further questions? All right, go to old business, Riverwalk 40B discussion. Mr. Superintendent, you were given the charge to meet with Mr. Andrade and
Yeah, so,
come up with a proposal that would be acceptable by everybody.
Right, so, originally, Dan had reached out to me with a proposal. His proposal being, he would accept 2,500 times 35 connection to equal 87,500, and contribute or commit $10,000 to a water reduction or dripping shower head removal. I think he was a little key on what we were kind of thinking. So we had proposed, or I had proposed back to him what I thought the board was looking for, and basically what was said to him was, I gave him a rundown of what the cost would be, which was kind of mentioned at the last commission meeting. So connection fee per new household is typically $6,500, and he has 138 dwelling units over there. That would total $897,000. I also suggested that I believe the board would possibly consider this as a apartment connection fee, helping him out at $4,000 per the 138, which would equal $552,000. And also contributing with the waiving of the fees of his affordables. I believe you have 35 affordables?
Yeah.
So it would be 103 times the 4,000. So basically at that time, I was suggesting to him that we would do 412,000, which is the 4,000 times 103. That would equal connection fee of $11,771 for each 35 permits. This amounts to a savings of 51% from a new house connection fee. Water reduction was discussed actually at our last meeting, and his estimates showed 30,360 to 45,450, or 110 gallons per bedroom. So we, I believe at the last meeting, decided we could probably work with him a little bit better on that and offer 185 gallons per unit, per household. That's kind of based off of an average that we've come up with our amount of houses that we have tied in and the amount of water that's being used by the residential units. So we were kind of using that, giving them a break on that as well. This equaled 25,000 by using the 25,530 gallons, and multiplying that. If he didn't want to do the water reduction, he could pay an I&I fee. It would be 25,530 gallons times the $5 per gallon removed. 127,650 would be the total. So factoring those two totals together, we have 127,650 divided by the 35. That was going to be an additional 3,647 to the permit connection fee. So 11,771 plus the 3,647 was going to be 15,417. So Dan had reached back out to me. He thought that possibly the board at that meeting had agreed to a fee of 35 connections. Not sure if that was the actual intent that night. I don't think it was, but I kind of responded back to Dan with another offer that I thought we were in agreement of. That agreement, I'm going to find it. So I reached back out to Dan and I threw this offer at him, kind of using his numbers, and did suggest to him that these are only my numbers to try and get things moving along a little better. Didn't know if the board would go along with it, but I kind of thought they would. Again, the way it was written was these are my thoughts, and the board would have to be in agreement as well. But if we did the 6,500 times the 35, that would equal 227,500. If we factored in the I&I cost, that's an additional $127,650. Again, that's with reducing his allocated amount that he was showing as being between 30,000 and 45 down to the 25, so we're giving him credit there. That would total 355,150, or 10,147.14 per the 35. I thought that was gonna be a little low, I didn't really think the board would go with that. So I suggested if I was able to round that number up to 10,500, it would get us to 367,500. I felt as though the board might go along with that, not sure if you would, but I felt as though you would. So in speaking with Dan, I thought we had a verbal agreement on that, and so I asked him to reply in an email to let me know that, so I could move along further with the board and tell him I did have an agreement with him. And Dan's reply was, I think you were trying to remove the 99 fee from that?
No, well, what I understood at the last meeting was the 25,000 gallons in the I&I fee. It was either that or I get involved with the water reduction program. And I think at the last meeting I said that I would be willing to get involved in that program to reduce my 25,000 gallons. And my thought process behind that is if I'm reducing my 25,000 gallons, as you mentioned, I could be 3 years into the project and the water bank, the sewer bank not have any more capacity. Where if I'm contributing to reducing my 25,000 gallons in your 2008 water reduction program, it says that it doesn't add to my project wouldn't add to the sewer bank or take away from the sewer bank, because I would be reducing my consumption that I would be using. So if we take the I&I and I pay the 127, my concern was the 127,650. As soon as I pay that, then you go and do your own I&I. My concern was I don't have any tracking that I did reduce my 25,000 gallons. And how can if you come to me in 3 years and say, sewer bank's full, then where does that leave me? So that was my,
I
the
don't,
numbers of, the
I
numbers
don't
I-
quite understand your question, Dan. To begin with, you came in with a number that we just shook our head at 300 gallons per household.
Right.
And we said, no, that's way too high, you won't hit that. And theoretically, not theoretically, the way you're supposed to do this is take what you give to us.
Mm-hmm.
Do the calculation on the numbers you give us. I mean, here, this is the fee for that. But we gave you a discount to begin with because we didn't think the 300 would hold. We don't have that obligation. We just did it, okay? I&I is done on a regular basis, as you can hear in his report, that we do I&I constantly. That is not an item that comes basically for free. We have to pay. If you're concerned about what that amount of money represents, that's an estimate of what it's going to cost somebody to go through the town and reduce 25,000 gallons.
Correct.
Okay? That is totally different than what you might be putting in. You may put in 33,000 gallons, depending on how many times the people are flushing and washing and so on. Or you might only put in 18,000 gallons. We don't know. We go on your number, it's 40,000 gallons. So we think it's 25. How do you want to pay for that?
Well, again, I had agreed to the 127,650. I'm not disputing the amount, the dollar amount. What I am saying is to have the 227,000 and the 127,650, to combine those two, they're two separate items.
Can I interrupt? I
Yeah.
think what he's trying to say is,
You want two bills instead of one?
not necessarily that, the protection that if he pays the 127 and we do remove the water, which we have to, Taunton comes in and says, no more connections. That he's already paid, so his project will be net neutral gallonage. Am I understanding you correctly?
Exactly.
Yes. So if he pays that, he's already removed the water, so no matter what, we can't stop it.
He's already in the permit.
That's what I think he meant with that, not necessarily disputing the
I'm
amount.
not, no, I told Rob, I'll, at this point, I would agree with the numbers, and I still don't have a problem with the numbers.
So I think, again, I'm not here all the time, but the way that I seem to be understanding this is, if he pays in some manner, way, shape, or form for the 127, and Taunton says nobody else can tie in, he wants to be in a position where the town of Raynham can say, well, he can tie in because he's extrapolated out
He's already in the system.
exactly
He's
what
already
he's putting
contributed to
in.
It's already in the
So
system.
at this point in time, it's a net. We're not adding to anything, any of Taunton's problems, because we've already extracted the amount that he wants to put in.
Exactly.
That's it, that one's it.
So,
That's what the 127,650 is for. You can have it, if I'm not gonna get involved with the shower heads and the toilets. At the last meeting, I said I would, but if you don't want me to, then,
No,
that's,
when you build the house,
oh, that's gonna be all done automatically.
you're responsible for that aspect of it.
Right.
I didn't ask you to go door to door, but there is a fee for I&I.
Right.
I think
so,
that,
can I interrupt 1 second,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman? I only because, so my concern is this is something that might be out of this board's or this town's hands.
I was just about to say
So I
that.
don't want to interrupt you then, you go right ahead.
No, you present it and I'll see whether you're right.
So, my concern is Taunton says, oh, no, you can't do it. You're negotiating with Taunton with regards to some aspects of this, the contract we have with them now, correct?
Yes.
For increased capacity?
Pardon me?
For increased capacity?
No, not for increased capacity, they're
There's both. We're trying to get additional gallonage for the town of
for the town of
Raynham.
Raynham. The Taunton right now is unfortunately 3 million over what it's supposed to
It's
have.
supposed to be 1.3, and what we see on the table doesn't give us any breathing room,
At all.
all right?
Yeah.
And there's areas that, it's not his problem.
No.
No, it's our problem.
But what, I
There's
guess,
a parcel of land that's estimated and guaranteed a hookup because it's under an old problem. It's a parcel of land, 3.5 acres. There's a formula he uses. In an industrial building, 1,100 gallons. That's what they pump in a day. That parcel of land became a hotel. Okay? 14,000 gallons a day. I can't stop that. I can't stop them building the hotel. It's under the zoning, it's there. When the plan was put together, this is what they thought. Well, I'd say about 95% of the original conceptual plan, from what I've been able to gather in the past 6 years that I've on the board looking at stuff, has been pretty good and very close. They didn't have much wiggle room. And Taunton, I don't know, they're fighting a battle that I don't think they're gonna win. And if they don't win and get away with what they're trying, there's no way they're going to be able to get a green light out of Boston and the federal government. They'll come down and just tell them, no, you've got to do this, and this. And if they add any more to what the projection is now, I might have to move out of Raynham because people would say, well, what are you changing your sewer? Our sewer bills could more than double than it is right now just to pay our share of the capital cost to correct the problem that Taunton has. We're talking 80 million,
And Mr. Chairman,
and it could go up to 165 million. In our budget, our operating budget today, on the worst condition, I guess we could be $100,000 lower than what we need to take care of that expense. And if they go whoopee we'll have to double, you'd have to double the rate just to pay our share of the capital improvements mandated by the state and the federal government, which we agreed to back in '87 or whenever the hell contract was signed. All right? Now,
Mr. Chairman, can I just interject? Because we did talk about this last time, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and just to catch you up, Ted, what we had talked about was that if the state were to come in and to do what's being described, because Taunton was way over, and Raynham is not, Raynham is within normal limits with what it's contracted for and is doing the reductions as well. You know, we had discussed the potential for, if a consent order is being handed down, that Raynham could intervene and say, look, do what you're going to do with respect to Taunton's share of all this, but with respect to Raynham's capacity, that should be treated differently, so that Raynham can operate within its lawful capacity. And to try to get the consent order.
you made that point that you thought the state would allow us to hook up. But the bottom line of it, by the time they finally get around to that, the problem is going to be exasperated because Taunton has not taken enough appropriate steps. I'm not worried about the $1.3 million. If everybody signed up in the next 6 months and we knew what we were pumping, I wouldn't. They're not going to shut us down. That's for sure. We'd pay a premium if it goes over the $1.3 million. But I tend to be proactive in anticipation of a problem, try to solve it before it gets there. And as far as you worrying that they'd shut us down, it wouldn't only be you, it would be every other person, the 1,100 people who live in the town of Raynham right now that have a right to hook up the sewer. Even with your 138 over there, Dan, over a 5-year period, would still be very, very close to either $1.327 million, $1.350 million. We'd be very close to that number.
So
We're at $1 million now.
So what I was going to suggest, is there any way in your negotiations with the city of Taunton, we can put language in, and they might object to it, but if in fact you have done what is necessary, if somebody's going to tie into sewer and have done what is necessary, so it is a net zero to tying in, that particular party would not be prevented from tying in. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, there is.
Well, there is already.
No, what there is he has to phase in.
Yeah.
He phases in his I&I.
Yep.
He gets permission to build X number of units when he's got so many gallons of R&I covered.
Yep.
And then he moves on to the second. He's not doing this all in 6 months.
Right.
He's got a 3 to 5 year period. That can be paid on a schedule so that under the assumption that he doesn't decide to build 138 units all at once and can only sell 50 of them, he'd go bankrupt because he couldn't afford to carry it. He's not going to build it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So we can tie the I&I.
What you're saying is exactly what I read in your 2008 signed I&I proposal. It says that if you are shut down and a proposal comes in front of you, that the applicant can do his reduction, and it has zero impact on the sewer bank as adding or subtracting.
Sewer bank is different than the I&I. You've got two different things.
Well, that's
They kind of tie it together.
right.
They're tied
It's
together.
two different things. But if my 127,000, say it's 100, whatever it is, if it's $127,650, if I am working to reduce my 25,000 gallons, and I'm at a zero impact to the town, I don't want to pay that money out and then say, okay, well, I'm out. However you can word it, I'm not disputing the dollar amount, I'm disputing,
Well,
I want that money to work for me as the project goes on.
No, it would be.
and it's their intention to do that. My concern is the step beyond that, though, is what Taunton does. See, these folks could agree to do that, But there might be some that happens that's out of their control. That's why when I was
The
speaking.
example that he's suggesting and what you're saying, I understand, okay? What you have, we're gonna say you're gonna do it in 4 years. And that's 35 units a year, 70, 70's 140, you get 138. You get enough I&I out, you get your permit, and you build the first 35. You're clean.
For the whole project.
You're clean, there's no problem. You haven't put any more money out,
Start opening the
you've
first
paid
35.
for those, and you've covered your 25% of the gallonage, say 6,000 or 7,000. Now you'd work on the next batch to get your second phase in, which is the same thing. And if Taunton shuts us down, you haven't paid for the other 2 phases,
Okay, that's what you're saying.
okay? But you've gotten it. That's what I referred to as
It's-
a payment plan that you have to commit to paying that, and it's done.
So the funds for my reduction will still be available before I go and get, if I'm shut off, you're gonna say, no, you're not gonna get it.
Okay, I know what you
You
don't
pay
wanna,
as you
you
go.
don't wanna give me 127,000 and hope you get to the last building. You wouldn't mind giving me half of that and have half of your buildings built and sold.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's just what I just said to you by doing it in a program.
Okay.
Well, but we're not gonna take it all in a lump sum anyways. He's gonna come forward, he's gonna take so much, 10,500 per connection. So let's say you're only gonna do 3 buildings, we take 10,500 per 3 buildings.
See, the whole thing was that you wanted everything converted to the 35 connections.
Correct.
And that's what you're paying. You're
Right.
paying
And I agree, no problem with that.
you're paying 1/35 of your I&I every time
You do a month.
you put the money there.
Okay.
They agree to it.
Then that was, I agree to the numbers. And,
Well, I wanna make sure we're clear on the numbers, because you're saying you agreed to the 227.5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I rounded that up, so I rounded the connection, if you remember, I rounded the connection fee up
Well,
to 10,500. So,
Per,
for the 35. Originally it was 10,147.14.
which is
So I round-
basically each building.
Yeah, so,
The only problem you have is you're paying 10,500 for a duplex,
right.
but you're only paying 10,500 for the quads and the sixplex.
So it's not 227, what is the?
well, the total fee per the 35 was 10,500 rather than 10,147.14. I rounded up to 10,000.
He rounded it up.
Yeah, which, so your total fee, based on what you're saying, the 227, was gonna be 355,150, but we're rounding it up, I come up to 367,500. It was a rounded up fees at 10,500 per 35.
We're rounding it down.
I don't know if the board would go along. Remember Joe said he was gonna beat me back if I
If he rounds down, he's gonna pay.
So the numbers. the numbers are-
10,500 per.
Yeah, in your last email, like I told you, I agreed to the numbers.
Yeah.
It was my concern about having the reduction. I wanted to be part of it, I'm willing to be part of it.
Makes sense.
But doing, what you just, how you explained it, it's being done as,
Yeah, but
There you go.
that was explained in the memo we sent you.
well.
Email, yeah.
Sometimes.
spell check.
I mean, email, because when he showed you, the thing would be divided by 35, so you'd only be paying 1/35 of one thing and 1/35 of the other thing.
Email can be tough in translations and knowing intent, so.
Yeah, sometimes my spell check doesn't work, and
And so that means that the recommendation that the board, that the commission will make to the ZBA for the fees would be the numbers that we're talking about tonight, the 227 rounded up.
Well,
to
no,
127.
before I'll ask for a motion on the board, I need to know what are we agreeing to, then we need to just formulate the document so it's done in the right fashion. Are you saying that you agree with his email to you for 367,500, which is 10,500 per hookup box,
Yes,
you are agreeing to it.
yes.
And that includes both the sewer and the INI,
Yes.
Correct. Yes, whole kit and caboodle.
367,500.
367,500.
Yep, I spoke to him on the phone, I agreed to it, and if my email was confusing,
Yeah, it was, I thought you were,
I'm
thought you were
trying-
retreating.
I'm trying to separate,
It's just communication stuff.
I'm just
that
trying to
happens.
separate the two, because to me, they're two different things.
You have to protect yourself. No
But,
one's faulting you for that.
Yeah, so I don't have, that's fine with me.
Now, may I ask you a question, Superintendent?
Mhm.
Not to throw a fly in the ointment, I mean, that's considerably less than what it normally should be,
Yes.
but is there any provision anywhere in there for the sewer bank?
Well, it's worked into the fee.
Pardon?
It's worked into the fee, so that 127,650 was added on to the 6,500.
That's INI.
Yes, the 127,000,
Is
127,000.
INI another name for sewer bank?
INI fee contributes to the sewer bank, correct? Sewer
It
bank.
contributes to the sewer bank,
Yes.
but the sewer bank is a separate item, isn't it?
No, not necessarily. Sewer bank is, this money is taken and used for INI removal, it's contribute to the sewer bank.
Okay. So the sewer bank is basically supposed to be a reserve fund for capital improvement needs of the sewer system.
For maintenance and capital improvement,
Yes,
that's correct.
maintenance and
Maintenance,
capital,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, we do a
When you
lot of,
start throwing out a piece here and a different number there and something over there, it sounds like you got a banana, an apple, and an orange, and you're making a fruit salad. But if they're all apples, you can say, that's a Red Delicious, that's a Macintosh, and that's a Granny Smith, but they're all apples.
right.
Okay. Are you happy?
I am.
You're happy.
Good.
You made him happy, Ted.
Yeah.
You made him happy. You left something on the table.
I know, yeah.
Now you're gonna pay me.
Yeah, I know. I was just gonna say, the important part is my chairman.
All right. We're not gonna beat the horse in there any further. We're going to, I'm gonna ask for a vote that the Riverwalk 40B, we can authorize the superintendent to draft a letter in the format that the council for Mr. Andrade needs for the Board of Appeals, that the fee that will be paid for is $367,500 in total, to be paid in full for that project by using the denominator of 35, the number of your hits.
Pumps.
Okay? Now, for clarification, if you're able to build the whole thing with 34 pits, then you're still gonna pay $367,500.
I agree with that.
That's the fee for it.
Yep.
Do we understand what I just mumbled?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, may I just ask, you said paid in full?
Pardon?
You said paid in full, but you mean that it will be paid in 35 increments?
Well, he's not paying, no, he's paying it in 35 installments.
Exactly.
But if he only uses 34 pump stations or pits,
Understood.
that last pit is paying for the 35th one.
Okay.
It's either divided by 34 or 32. If he only uses 30 for his project, it's 367,500 divided by 30.
Could be a balance.
Because that number relates to the number of housing units.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that we charged you nothing for the low-income projects. Okay. So there's the final language. We know what we gotta do. You set it up,
I would ask if,
yeah, you can get it between the two councils and make them
Yeah, I'd like to
happy.
see it.
That's all that really matters, that they're happy. All right, a motion to,
I haven't heard that in a while.
to award this agreement between Riverwalk and the Raynham Sewer Department for the total fee of $367,500, paid in installments of $10,500 per, what do you want to call it? Section E pump
per connection point, yeah.
per connection.
Yes, you were saying we're gonna have 35 connections.
Right.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bickle,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Kelleher. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 A vote is 3-0. Congratulations, Mr. Andre.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your service
Members of
to
the
the town
board.
of
Best of
Raynham.
luck down there.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
we're gonna need it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. No, I hope you get better soon.
You can't drive with your, you can write with your left hand, but you can't
Just
drive.
barely.
You can't drive with your left hand?
No, they say that you're incapacitated if your hand is in a sling.
Yeah, they don't want you driving.
Is that because it's your dominant here? Okay.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So if it was your left hand and you weren't, you use your right hand for the,
because you can't pull and.
Yeah.
I don't think they want you wincing either, you might,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
I appreciate her taking the time.
Well, you
It's so
could,
much easier being here than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on
you
the
could have
phone.
got, you know, Dan, you could have got a knob for the wheel. Because,
always-
when we were kids, we had a
I
knob.
know.
Because we had a lawnmower, another way, you
Yeah,
know?
if it goes on too long, I'll look into it, believe me.
You orated very well with your left, you just kept going like this and this, does this all the time.
I was ready to ask her, tell her I'd pick her up, but,
Well, they've got Uber. Uber is.
yeah.
Great thing.
Next door.
Good luck with the project, Dan.
Very good.
And good luck
Thank
with
you,
your-
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
service.
That's the real.
Really.
Be
That's the
safe.
real luck that we
Thank
need.
you. Nice to meet you.
Very nice meeting you.
See you, Dan.
You take care.
Have a great night.
How did the other guy come out? You broke your hand.
I told you it was skiing.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
skiing.
right, skiing, but no snow, but we were staying.
Yeah, exactly.
See you
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
Have a great evening.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Teddy, you can leave if you want to. I know you want to, but your wife doesn't want you home.
I'm not going there.
But I won't tell her where you went.
That's okay, that's okay, you know.
Thank you for your guidance.
Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. That went very well. Glad that it did. Makes it easy for everybody.
Yeah.
Sure does.
You gotta work up some language with the superintendent.
Yep, we'll get that put together.
Yes,
Get it done.
compliment him on the service, what he was able to do.
Yeah, good job. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great job. Yep, made it much easier. So, gentlemen, again, thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Good to
guys.
see you.
Take
Happy
it
New
easy.
Year to all of
Happy
you.
New Year.
Yes,
Likewise.
same to you, a prosperous one for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I don't know what Tom's gonna do, man. Between the sewer and now they got no landfill.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's why the problem with the sewer. They've been flushing for too long.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I would not want to be mayor of that fair city because they promised not to increase the cost of the trash bags. Now they gotta send all the trash out. So they gotta pay for that. They're trying to, from what I understand, and you're repeating what I heard, they're trying to get out on the cheap on the fixing the sewer. And it's not gonna work.
Their problem is, you know, they said they have acquired a piece of land that they're going to pump out some 5 million gallons a day into a holding tank for evaporation and because they're gonna design an $8.4 million pumping station, which is exactly the size that they have now. And they throw out 12 million gallons. So,
Wow.
that's my concern.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Thank you, Ken.
Eventually, again, thank you.
Peace.
Good night, everybody.
Have a great one.
All right, this ought to move along pretty well. Emergency business,
We have none.
none. No commission reports.
Nope.
Everybody's been hunkered down. Public forum, anybody out there? You have a question? No questions, all right. Press time, there is no press. Okay. I'm going to ask a motion to adjourn to just perform administrative duties only. and I wish everybody a healthy end of the winter. Stay safe. These are the worst things in the world, but the safest things in the world. So for now, muzzle it. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Bickle, seconded by Mr. Kelleher. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 10
Aye.
minutes to 7, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.